Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just 6 months away from its official release, and as we get through each and every week, we are getting closer and closer to the official reveal of Trailer 2 of The Rise of Skywalker. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. So what's really great about Episode 9 is that we do know that this movie really is going to be a film that's going to be very true to the Star Wars franchise that George Lucas started back in 1977. We do know that this movie is going to serve as the culmination of the Skywalker saga. Basically, it's not just going to be a sequel to The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, but a sequel to the past 8 Star Wars movies that come before this one. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and what's really exciting has all to do with the plans by J.J. Abrams, Chris Terrio, and even George Lucas. Now, what's really interesting about all of this is that it's described that during the rewrites of the film for the months of November and December of 2018, is that this is when JJ and Chris, as well as Kathleen Kennedy, Disney, and Lucasfilm, decided to bring George Lucas on board to adjust mainly the second and third act of the film. It said that George had a heavy role in the development of Han Solo's involvement in the story and how it would be filmed during reshoots for the months of June and July. George is described to be the one who came up with the idea of Luke's Force Ghost initiating Han Solo in the form of a vision through Kylo's perspective, as well as introducing many of the Darth Vader elements in the second act of the movie to make Vader a figurative ghost. Additionally, it's described that George Lucas also wrote a sequence for the third act that was a scene for his vision of the original Star Wars Episode 9 that never saw the light of day and never will. That includes a special moment between both Luke and Leia. George also was the one to suggest prequel trilogy choreography to be used between both Kylo and Rey during their flash fights within the third act of the movie, to make the fighting more intense and to give a sense that there is more at stake for the two. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, George Lucas, like I say, if it weren't for that man, creating this amazing Star Wars franchise, we wouldn't have this Star Wars franchise at all whatsoever. Say what you will about the prequels, but I love the original trilogy. I really love how classic it is, especially Star Wars A New Hope that was created back in 1977. So my favorite trilogy still, for today, stands with the original trilogy. 100%. There's nothing that can really match the original trilogy in my point of view. I'm sure that there are people out there, as well as some of you guys out there watching right now, that prefer the prequels over the originals, which is fine and okay and all. Everybody has their own opinion. But I will say that I'm really excited to see exactly how all of these different ideas and pitches that were approved by Disney and Lucasfilm by George Lucas, and exactly how it's all going to be executed on the big screen for, of course, December of this year. So what's really exciting to me about all of this is that Han Solo's involvement was actually pitched by George Lucas and written in by George himself, where he actually lent a lot of ideas to J.J. Abrams. So he's the one who actually came up with the idea of Han Solo returning in the form of a vision as well, through, of course, the Force Ghost of Luke Skywalker manipulating Kylo Ren's mind. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but there are reshoots taking place as we speak during this month and will be extended all the way to the month of July. And there's even talk that it's going to extend all the way over to the month of August, just before they end this movie come October of this year. So that's their plan right now, is to end this movie by October of 2019. What I mean is, finishing up all the editing and all the special effects and everything around those lines, right around 2, maybe 3 months before its release. That's when you're going to see a lot of the TV spots and everything around those lines and the marketing reaching its peak. So with that being said, what I'm really excited about this as well is that George Lucas was the man himself who introduced this idea from his original version of Episode 9 that is going to be inserted into the current version of Episode 9. And that is a very special moment between both Luke and Leia that's going to be used on the big screen within the third act of this movie. So this most likely is connected to the leak that we went over a couple of months ago about there being a flashback scene between both Luke and Leia actually having a training session, or Luke Skywalker giving his sister Leia a lecture about the Jedi and the Force some years after the events of Return of the Jedi. And that, I believe, is exactly, you know, what this is, of what George Lucas is using from his original script, or his original drafts or ideas, if you will, of the original sequel trilogy that never saw and never will see the light of day, but that moment is going to be introduced in Episode 9, so that's very nice to know. George Lucas, you know, at the end of the day, guys, like I always say, I think that if it weren't for him, sci-fi would be totally different nowadays, without a doubt. Sci-fi would have definitely been different throughout the 1990s, the early 2000s, and even now in the 2010s. And I think that as we approach the 2020s, it's going to be very intriguing to see exactly where the new Star Wars trilogy will stand and how it's going to compare to the sequels, the originals, and the prequels. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.